Howdy and welcome to Painting Our Monsters. Sometimes the most important part of a painting is just deciding where to begin. You can take your time with that. And then once you're moving, you're off to the races. You can see with this painting, I had a little bit of trouble getting started a couple times. That pink and purple sky down there, that's like the fourth sky I painted on this canvas and just went over the top of. Sometimes when I do my skies, I like to do them all in one go, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So part of my process is painting over that canvas and trying that again and again until I get something that I like. I did like how this sky turned out on the other side with the blue and white clouds, but it's a different style I've been working on. I really tried to work with the globs of paint, and so it's been kind of fun for me. I've been using this silicone brush to it really pushes the paint around more than it drags it, and that's been interesting to kind of get a different effect. But now that I got that sky that I liked, I wanted to build a painting around it. And so the first thing I'm doing is kind of putting in the background over here, and that's a couple trees. I'm liking these clouds, so I don't want to cover them up too much. So I'm just kind of putting in the base down here, and this is going to end up being a river, and I'm maybe starting to see those other clouds as maybe the foreground for later. And I know my monster's going to be right here. It's going to be a bullfrog. I'm working with my sense of scale this week, where I want the monster to be sort of kind of creature you'd find stumbling through a forest. Not something you'd see on the horizon, but something you'd be deep in the woods and this guy'd come up and surprise you. So that's what that little dark spot there is for, to give him a place to be. So I kind of got my basic shapes in here. And so now I'm just coming in and putting in some highlights. Now, I know some of y'all really like seeing this painting of just the monster, so I have a whole separate video for that, and that's going to be up in a few days. And that has me going through all the details of what it takes to make a giant kaiju in the woods, step by step in real time. That's a real soothing video. It just has one shot on it, so look forward to that. Go ahead and subscribe, and that'll be up in a couple of days. But for this painting, I just wanted to really focus on the landscape and the whole painting itself, and then have a separate painting with just that frog. So now that he's in there, the whole trick is just making it look like he belongs. So the first thing I wanted to do is push him back by putting some stuff there on the bank. And now I had a lot of fun doing this, y'all. This is just blue paint, real wet, real runny, and I want to turn it into a river. And so I was trying all sorts of different things. It's so much fun to try different techniques. And so that's that silicone brush I was using, and it was just smearing the paint away. So next up, I tried a painter's knife with a little bit of white on it to kind of scratch it through. And I love how I get these different, it looks like water flowing, just by moving that brush back and forth across there, you can get that different effect. And I was just having so much fun doing this. And that's what painting should be for you too. It should be fun. If you're stressed out about it looking a certain way and all that, don't worry about that. Just focus on technique. Find a way to use the brush and do it 100 times and see how that does it. You see, I put in a little bit of black here, and that kind of changed the whole look. So I had to go in and add some white. And these are the kind of things you find just by working on your technique and just by working on getting a little better at a little thing. And I finally got to the point where I like that river enough that now I'm trying to put in a little bit of shore grass to make it look like it's got a shore. Maybe that dark corner over there, that's a deep part of the pond, deep part of the river that he crawled out of. You can see here I turned it on its side to try to get some of these plants here in the foreground. This painting's a little different from most of my work because it's got a lot of texture to it, and I really wanted that foreground to have the texture too, so there's just a ton of thick blobs down there. Last thing this guy needs is, right now he's the only orange thing in this whole painting, so I thought we needed a tree to kind of make it look like he's camouflaged. I think this guy is a giant bullfrog, super bullfrog, and so he's going to try to camouflage into his environment because bullfrogs are stealth hunters, which means he's sitting over here waiting for a boat to go by. Maybe he's waiting for a bear to come ambling through or something. So, but that's not gonna make much sense if he's the only orange thing in the picture. So this tree, I'm putting in a little bit of green at first, but that's just going to serve as my kind of original outline for the tree. And then we can put in some of this red and gold to make it look kind of like a bald cypress we get down here. A big trick, again, working on technique, just trying to figure out how much paint do you need on the brush, how much is too much, how much is not enough, and just try that, different configurations of paint on there until you get what you want. I go ahead and put down that first bit and consider that as kind of a background, and then I come in and do these just little bits of branches here. And then with a smaller brush, I'm putting in a little bit of orange, brighter orange. That's just red with more yellow mixed into it, and that's just putting that up on the tops of the branches on these tufts. I have a lot of trouble thinking about leaves. And when I'm making a tree, I spend my time thinking too much about the leaves. And that's a problem, because you really got to think about the form and the shape of the tree. It's really got to be about the branches, about how it appears to you. So a lot of times I'll get caught up just thinking about leaves, where the leaves supposed to be. But this is a painting. It's not a tree, you know. This is not a tree, as the surrealists would say. So it's important for you to kind of think about the big picture, you know. Now this was a lot of fun. I have these green branches, and it's kind of hard to see, but they have a ton of texture. And so I wanted to go ahead and put in those last blooms of summer, right? We're coming into fall here, coming into winter with that orange tree. So here we just got a couple of flowers here. And I'm just using daubs of red paint to get that effect. But in the front here, now we're kind of trying to complete it with a little bit more of that fall color. So I put in a couple of strokes of orange, and now just a little bit of brown, just to give us a little indication of some bushes. And then here, I had a lot of fun doing this. This is a bottle. So I just, put they're all kind of that reddish brown to keep your beer from getting messed up by the sunlight. It should be a little bit darker on the bottom. So we got that a little bit lighter on the top. That's where the sun catches that bottle. And then that's maybe, where the label came off. You can kind of see what's going on there. And then I like to put this little circle at the top. Maybe it doesn't come across for the viewer, but as the artist, it's there. And that's what's so wonderful, is you see that and you're going to say, that's my bottle. I put that there. And that's real important. And now I wanted to show y'all, this is what happens when you just go crazy and overdo it. Now I should have stopped, but instead I just kept going and going and going in this corner. This is just a huge mistake. And I just couldn't help myself. But I fixed it. So now this is the complete painting. You can see that I went back and I waited for everything to dry, and I redid that corner. And I put in another sort of cypress with some more yellow over here. And here we got our giant Bufo Diablo sitting here at a river waiting for a snack. I love the way his eyes turned out. I love the way he got that spooky mouth. And I love how many of the brush strokes you can see. You can see every stroke of the brush on this painting, and that's what I was going for. So I hope you liked it. We'll see you next week.